Hey guys, Loz here, and today I bring you the Paladin UI video that I've been meaning to do for absolutely ages, and I can only apologise that it's taken so long to get around to doing, but here it is. And if you have seen Alex's Hunter UI video that he did, this is going to be very similar to that. In fact, quite a lot of the add-ons I use he also uses, but there are a few add-ons I do use that he doesn't. So you may find this video useful, and obviously you can download this UI. There is a link in the description, you can use that to go download it. And within the description there's also timestamps to certain points of the video, so if you only want to know how to install it, then you can click on that. If you want to learn about the individual add-ons themselves, then you can also click on them. Now, as sort of a bit of a disclaimer before you do decide to install this, this UI was made pretty much with only tanking in mind, and a lot of the add-ons reflect that. However, quite a lot of them can be used universally, but a lot of the configurations with Powa WeakAuras and stuff like that will only really apply to Paladin tanks, so you might have to fiddle around with that quite a lot yourself. Also, what you need to know is that this UI is for a 1920 by 1080 resolution screen. If your screen cannot go to this resolution and you decide to install this UI, it will look pretty shit. A couple of the add-ons would probably be fine and stick to scales and stuff like that. Others will not. Others will probably be all off the screen and it will just look terrible. You can check what resolution your monitor is by either going into like your control panel and then going into display. But you can also do it in game. If you're in WoW, you can go into your video options and just see what the maximum resolution you can get is. There are ways that you can, like, I could like configure this add-on pack in a certain way so that it will work on low resolution screens, but the amount of hassle involved to try and do it, I'm sorry, I'm just too lazy. I just can't be bothered to fucking do it. So yeah, bottom line is, don't install it if you don't have 1920 by 1080 monitor. Okay, let's start off by actually installing the UI itself. If you check the description of the video, you'll find a download link. And once you have finished downloading, you'll get a file named Fatboss Paladin UI. You will need to unzip it. You can unzip it absolutely anywhere on your computer using either WinRAR, 7-zip, or whatever your favorite software is. And once you have unzipped it, open it up and you'll see two folders called Account and Add-ons. And essentially what you're doing with these two folders is replacing your current Account and Add-ons folder, which is in your World of Warcraft directory. So you want to open up another Explorer window. You want to go and find your World of Warcraft directory. That will usually be in program files. However, WoW has, like, I don't know if it's like Windows 7 or Windows 8 that's doing it, but sometimes WoW is saved in like a really bizarre place. It's like Microsoft Games or some shit. So just find out wherever your World of Warcraft directory is. Mine is in my Z drive. You want to open it up and you will get this. Now, the first folder that you need to replace is your account, and that is inside your WTF file. Now, before you just drag this over and completely replace your account folder, you need to go inside your account folder and find out various different information. And also, I really do recommend that you back up your account folder, your current one. Now, there's two ways of backing this up. You can either just like copy it and put it somewhere safe on your computer where you won't delete it. You can also just rename it. If you just rename the account folder to something else, then World of Warcraft won't like look at it when you log on. It will just think it's just some random file. So you can either do one or the other. That will back it up. You don't have to back it up. It's not that important. If you really love this UI, then who gives a fuck? It doesn't really matter. Now, once you have backed it up, you now want to go into the account folder on the Fatboss Paladin UI, and you'll see a folder called account name. Now, what people had problems working out last time we did a UI video was that the account name isn't your Battle.net login email address or anything like that. It's your actual account name, and this is what you used to log in before Battle.net even existed. If you didn't play back then your account name, well, it's just going to be a load of random numbers, and you can work out what those numbers are by literally just going into your old account file, and within that file you will find your account name. I'm not going to go into it because I'd rather not share what my account name is. Once you have got your account name, you want to change this folder to your account name, so it might be a load of random numbers or whatever. You then want to open that up. You then want to find this file, which is server name. You want to change this to the name of the server which your character is on, whichever character you want to have the UIs. So I'm just going to do Twisting Nether for an example. Open that up, and inside you'll see character name. You want to then change this to the name of your character. Big Dong. There we go. That is now done. Once you've done that, you then want to move the account folder over and put where your current account folder is. And that's it. That's all you need to do for that one. Now for the other one, you want to go back into your main World of Warcraft directory, go under interface, and you then want to back up your add-ons folder. And like again, you can do that by just copying it somewhere else on your computer, or you can just do it by renaming it, so add-ons old, whatever. You then want to just drag this one over. You don't need to play around with that. Literally just move it over, that's it, done job. And once you've done those two things, it should then work. Okay, so in this part of the video I'm going to go through all the add-ons individually. And we'll cover AtlasLoot, which is that. We'll cover Bartender, which is the action bars. Combat Clock, which is this stopwatch down here. Grid, which is this here. KgPanels, which is like the red boxes. Lagbar, which is this little display down here. MovableHolyPower, which is in the middle. Postal, which is a mailbox add-on. Prat, which is the chat. Quartz, which is a cast bar. Sexymap, which is your minimap. Skada, which is the threat, damage and healing bars down here. Powa WeakAuras, which is the icons that appear on the right hand side. WeakAuras, which is more or less the same thing. And deadly boss mods. Okay, so the first add-on we're going to cover is AtlasLoot, and it appears as like a chest icon on your minimap, like a treasure chest, or you can just do /AL. I'm not going to go too into depth like with this add-on. I mean, I'm pretty sure 99% of you know what this add-on is. It's literally what it says on the tin. It's just a loot. It's an atlas of loot. It will literally just show you all the loot from all the instances, which is kind of useful, especially if you're someone who likes transmog and stuff like that. You can like literally check out all the shit. You can link from it. It's super useful. And yeah, I mean, one of the best things about it really is that you can go through collections, which I really like. I mean, you can look at all the legendaries that have ever existed and shit like that. It's just a really great add-on. And there's also a search function on it, which is really nice. But apart from that, yeah, it's a very simple add-on. Not much to it really. Okay, so the next add-on I'm going to be talking about is Bartender, which is your action frames. And Bartender, like, I mean, there's lots of other add-ons that'll do the same job as Bartender. Dominoes, for example, that's a pretty decent action bar add-on. But I find Bartender to be the best. I haven't really found an add-on that I think is better yet. So let's have a look at it. So it's, to open it up, it's like the little keggy looking thing on your minimap, the frothy beer. If you left click it, it'll make it so you can move all the bars. When you first install it, when you first have it up, unless you've downloaded the UI, they'll probably be all over the place. It will look horrible. There's quite a lot of configuration you need to do with it. You'll probably have like the XP bar like that, and you'll have the Blizzard art bar and all that sort of shit. It'll all be horrible. But obviously once you get your final product, it looks amazing. And essentially what Bartender does, what the normal Blizzard UI doesn't really do, is that you can have so many more action bars. You can actually do it with a normal Blizzard UI, but it's a bit of a pain to do it, and obviously it doesn't look, I mean, I personally don't think it looks very nice when you've got lots of, like, 2 lines at the bottom and then 2 lines up your right side. I really prefer just to have all my buttons right underneath me in vision so I can actually see them. So to activate a bar, you'd need to literally just click a bar, enable, and then there we go. And when you've left clicked it, it means you can move it about. If you left click nothing, you can't move it. So you left click it and that'll enable you to move it. And you can increase the scale. You can make it like opaque or whatever. You can increase the padding. That's shot on bar 5. That'll probably be easier. So you can increase the padding, which basically just increases the gap. You can take buttons away. You can make it so the buttons look zoomed, which just changes. It basically just removes the border off it. I personally quite like the border. Button grid, which really isn't that important. I mean, really, you shouldn't have. I mean, all it does is just add a little background to it, so you can see that you can actually put a spell into it. I just add that off. It's just preference. You can add rows. So you can make it more buttons vertically rather than horizontally. You can make it so you hide the macro text. If you see on bar 3 at the bottom there, I mean, I'll turn it on that. So hide macro text. It literally just hides the macro text. Simple as that. But I'd keep it off personally. It's not really a big worry for me. You can also change it so it hides the keybinds for it. You can also make it so it's click through, which I find really, really useful. So like, for example, if I'm trying to target this, whatever this is, and as you can see there, lay on hands is in the way. Well, it isn't, because I can click through lay on hands. So if you are someone who uses keybinds, you might as well make this so you can click through. But if you have all your buttons down here, it's very rarely that, you know, that is going to be the case. So that's not that important generally. Also, the great thing about Bartender is that you have the option to set your key bindings, which is probably the best thing about it, really. Anyone who knows about setting your key bindings manually, it's just a bit of a pain, to be honest. You have to go in here and you have to find the right action bar and then the right action button with on that bar and all that. It's just a ball ache. And I recommend that if you have downloaded the UI package that I have, the first thing you should do is just reset to default, reset all your binds, because the chances are my binds you're not going to like, just like I probably wouldn't like your binds. You should always set your binds to your personal preference, because that's the whole idea. It's supposed to be easier for you. But yeah, to set your binds, you want to open up Bartender. Make sure that you don't have the left click enabled so you can move it. Make sure it's all locked. Click on key bindings, and the way to key bindings is that you hover over the spell and then you click the bind that you wish to be used on that spell. If you press escape, it will clear all binds. So that currently is bound to 1. I clear it, it now has no bind. If I go back over it and I press 1, that is now key bound to 1. And you just want to go through all your buttons individually and bind them individually. One thing you really need to be careful with is, while you are doing these binds, try not to move your character out of habit or just like out of OCD, like strafing left to right like I usually do, because that will bind your strafe or your movement keys to that ability rather than you actually strafing. If you do that by mistake, you can go into the key binding options and just find wherever your strafe options are and then rebind them back to what they originally were. Or just hit reset to default and go again. But yeah, that's essentially Bartender. I mean, as you can see, I've set up 3 bars, 1, 2 and 3, and I've just put binds over the top of them. I've moved the vehicle bar and the stance bar and the extraction button, and I've made the micro menu smaller. Nothing major, very easy, very simple to do. So the next add-on we're going to look at is Combat Clock, and essentially all this add-on does is just uses your in-game stopwatch that I'm sure some of you didn't even realize existed. If you actually get the time on your minimap and you right click it, there's actually an option to show stopwatch. There we go. And you can actually start it and everything like that. Pretty cool. I mean, pretty useful. All the add-on does is just use the in-game stopwatch. It doesn't change how it looks or anything like that. But literally, as soon as you enter combat, the clock will start. Whenever you leave combat, the clock will stop. That's all there is to it. And you're probably wondering, well, why the hell would you end up using this? I found it useful from like a raid leading perspective. Sometimes you can work out like what happens at what point, and I know you have DBM timers and bigwig timers that sort of can shout at you and tell you that shit, but sometimes you sort of need your own timer, at least how I found. I mean, if you don't want to use it, you can just uninstall it, but I do recommend you use it. You might find it useful. I certainly have. So yeah, that's Combat Clock. Nice and simple. Okay, so the next add-on I'm going to be going through with you is Grid. And Grid, to be fair, like, you don't really need to use it these days. You don't really need to use Hillbot or anything like that. You can quite easily just use Blizzard raid frames. The only issue I personally have with Blizzard raid frames is that you can't customize them to the degree that you can customize Grid. I mean, you can increase the scale of them, and you can show them what debuffs to show and which debuffs not to show. The only reason why I use Grid is because you can change the border colours, you can increase the padding, the spacing, the scale, you can change the frame width and height, which you can't do in the normal Blizzard raid frames. So yeah, that's the only reason why I use Grid. But the problem with Grid is that it requires quite a lot of setting up to do. So if you don't want to sit here all day like messing around with it and configuring it just so it actually works properly for you in raids, I wouldn't recommend you use Grid. But to start off, we're going to talk about how to show various different debuffs and buffs on your grid. Now, if you go into the status tab, you'll see various different things. So you'll see aggro alert, death warning, feign death warning, all that sort of shit. they're all obviously all quite important, but the most important thing is auras. If you hit the plus sign so it shows everything, these are all the buffs and debuffs that you're ever going to see in a raid. And your list probably won't be as populated as this right now. As you can see on the right hand side, these are all things that I've added. And you can add them pretty easily yourself. If you find out a boss debuff, let's just say a boss debuff is called Bleeding Out. There we go. You literally hit Bleeding Out, and there we go. It'll populate within this list here. You can then like adjust it here within the list. So where was that Bleeding Out? You can change the priority. And simply all the priority does is, like, if you set up one of these debuffs to show in the bottom left corner of your grid, and you show another one to be in the bottom left corner of your grid, and you have both the debuffs on you at the exact same time, whichever has the highest priority number will be the debuff that you will see. Which in some cases is a good thing, but in other cases is probably quite a bad thing, because you kind of want to be able to see both debuffs at the same time. So if you are on a boss, then you probably should set up your grid so that you have either one debuff in the left and one debuff on the right, or you have it as a center icon and one on the left. However you do it, you just want to be able to see both of them, really. That's probably the best way of doing it. So you can get a plugin for grid called, I think it's called Raid Debuffs, or something like that. I'll put a link in the description. But basically that will allow you to show all raid debuffs instead of you having to populate this list. However, I don't think that add-on has been continued. It was in the game a long time ago, but I don't think they continued it. But that was pretty useful, and it saved you from having to populate this list. Another great way of populating this list is literally just going into the dungeon journal. And just going into like the raid that you're working on. So let's just say that you're working on Jaikun, for example, and you want to be able to see the talent rake stacks on the tanks. You literally go into status, add new debuff, talent rake, and there it is. Add it. And there it is, just been added. And the best way to then go and put these so they actually work in the grid, because all they've done now, all you've done is just told grid to look at them, but you haven't told what grid to do with them. And the way you do that is by going into the indicators. And the indicators is the border, which is, as you can see, when I highlight over the border right now, it shows that I've highlighted over it. The border also shows my target. If I click on it, it should... Oh no, I don't think that's turned on. Your target. So if I target someone on grid, it gets a white border, which is pretty nice. But you can pretty much get it to do almost anything. I've also got it set for aggro warning, aggro alert. So whoever has aggro, their border will become red on grid, which is kind of useful if you can't see where someone is on your screen and you see that they have aggro and they really shouldn't. Then you can target them and just do a very quick bop or whatever. If you know that that's a good thing to do. The healing bar is literally the it's like a little bar that will come up in the corner that will show incoming heals and stuff. It's actually it's hard to explain. It's just a bar down there in like the corner. I turn that off personally. I don't find it useful at all. But you can get it to show incoming heals. That's what it's on by default, but I've turned that off. I don't like that. The center text I've got for unit name, so I can actually see who is who. And there's also a center text 2. For this center text 2 to show up, you actually need to turn it on. I think that's within the frame, or it might even be on by default these days. Oh no, there it is. It's in the frame text options, enable center text 2 indicator. Why it's in there, I have no idea. It seems like a bit of an odd place, but there we go. If you turn that off, it will move the unit name. Well, currently I have it as the unit name. The center text 1, it will move it down, like almost to the middle. But I do have that in on right now, and I have it set up for just death warning. And I think I've set up for something else. Yeah, debuff ghost. So when you're dead, it will show the debuff. I've also got it set up for offline warnings, ready checks, and resurrection sickness, which is pretty useful. As for the center icon, this is like the main one you'll be using, really. You can set up for various different things. So I've got it set up for pretty much all debuffs, curses, magics, and then various different raid buffs, raid debuffs that you'll see. So if I wanted to add the one that we had previously, Talon Rake. If I'm now on Jicon, it will show Talon Rake debuffs within the center icon. And just to give you an idea of what the center icon looks like, can add a buff also, so Sacred Shield. And then if I go to center icon, and I find buff Sacred Shield, which is, sorry, trying to find it. There it is. Then I use Sacred Shield, it will then show it as a center icon. And it also adds a timer. As you can see, it has a grey outline. You can change the outline by going, where is it? In this list and find Sacred Shield. Where is it? There it is. Change the colour so you can make it like a blue or something. And it takes a while for it to like update, but there we go. So it'll now have like a blue outline rather than a grey one. But then again, that's up to you. That's personal preference. As you can see, it does actually cover the unit name. You can change that by setting up different priorities, and also you can obviously make grid a lot bigger. And to be honest, I would recommend that you do make it a lot bigger. If you have your icon this big, and you can change your icon size in the layout options, I think, but we'll get to that in a minute. Or it might be, yeah, it's the frame options. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, I would recommend that you do make it slightly smaller than what I have it now. Mine's literally just the tanking, so I don't need to worry about it too much. The other indicators are the corners. Right now I have them sort of half set up for my Shaman. To be honest, I think I'll just disable them. But yeah, I'm not really using the corners at all. Like, I'm using the bottom left corner for forbearance. It shows by forbearance, which is kind of useful. But I'm not really using the corners for anything else. And frame alpha I've got set for out of range, so that target's out of range. Then the health frame will become less opaque. So that's pretty sweet. So moving on from that, I hope you understand sort of how that works. I'm going to talk about how you can actually config grid to look different to what it is you have now. So you can start off in the general frame tab, and this is where you can change the width of the actual health bar. You can make it pretty huge actually, as you can see. I wouldn't recommend making it that big because you probably have no screen left. But you can increase the border size within the health frame. You can also increase the corner indicators, as you saw earlier for forbearance. Like, if I get forbearance really quick, you can actually increase that, as you can see. I mean, I don't need it that big personally. Which is, yeah, that's pretty much all you're going to get in that tab. Then you have the bar option, which will just change the texture of the actual frame itself. So you can change it to that. You can change it to that. You can change it to whatever one you want. I personally like the armory one. I think that looks good. And also, when you first put grid in, you'll probably see everything in class colors on the actual character bar thingy. And it'll probably be quite dark. It'll be like that. If you hit this invert bar color, that will just make it so it's light, and all the health that goes missing will then become dark. That's how I set up. That's how I like it personally. In the icon options, you can change the center icon size and stuff like that, and also you can change the cooldown frame and stuff like that. I don't really play around with that. I've just kept that as it is. But if the icon in the middle is too big, that's what you change. You'd either make it bigger or smaller. The text options, I've got it set to Doris PP as the font. Obviously the font and everything's completely up to you. The fonts I've sort of kept universally. The font on my grid is also the font on Skada over here. And also that is the same as the DBM timers. So that's exactly the same font. I have got font shadow on right now, as you can see. It just sort of makes it look a little bit smarter. And the center text length, this by default is on like 3, I think. So everyone's name is like that. So if you have someone in your raid team that has a 20 character name, then you might want to set that to 20. But it does mean that their name is just pretty much probably going to fall off. So it's up to you on that. Do what you want with that. But I'd recommend it so you can actually see the whole of your characters and players' names. It looks much better in my personal opinion. Now, to actually change the colour of the health bar, this is actually an indicator. if you go into status and you go into health, unit health, that's where you change the colour. So the indicator is the frame and the status is health. And you can have low health warnings so that the people flash if they're on low health or whatever. It also gives them a border, if I believe. But unit health, you want to go on this and you can change it to whatever you want. I've got on green, and to show missing health, I'm not actually sure. I think it is in this, the health deficit, but I've got that set as white, but for some reason it shows as a dark green instead. I'll be completely honest, I have no idea why it does that, but I don't care. I mean, I kind of like the dark green, so I'm pretty happy with that. So that's how you do that. You'd literally go to status as health and you can change it in there. Another thing that you can do with grid, if you see right now, if I take some damage quick, the health bar is horizontal. You can actually change it so it's vertical instead, if that's what you prefer. I've always used horizontal, but there you go, you can change it to vertical instead, and that's in the frame general tab. But I'm going to keep it horizontal, that's what I like. Now, the last thing for me to really talk about in grid is the layout tab. In here you can lock grid, so you hit the frame lock, that allows you to move it around. You can make it so it actually shows like the grid tab. I know you can't show it when it's locked. Okay, shit game. Don't worry about that. You can set up the priority of the groups. You can have either horizontal groups or vertical groups. Right now I've got on horizontal groups. That means that the groups will populate horizontally. You can get it so they populate vertically. It's just I prefer, because I'm a 10-man raider and I do only really do 10-man raiding, I find it a lot better if it's just, you know, a small horizontal rectangle rather than a vertical rectangle. So that's just how I've set up. Obviously it's up to you, you can do it however you like. As for the layouts, this is just all it will do is just set up grid depending on what situation you're in, and you can tell what situation to show what type of grid. So in a solo layout I've got it as 10, and pretty much every other one I've got it set up as 10, apart from when I'm in a 25-man raid. When I am in a 25-man raid or a 40-man raid, I do have to move grid, because grid will start populating behind my action bars, which is a bit unfortunate, but there we go, that's just how it is really. I mean, you can just set these all up to 10, which means if you are a healer or something like that, you're not going to be able to heal 30 people in the 40-man raid, because you won't be able to see them on the grid. But you know, it's up to you. Do as you please. I just always set it up to 10 because it looks a lot better. Now, as for the lower parts, you can add padding, and this isn't padding between each player. This is padding between the frame and the actual border. Same with the spacing, works the exact same way. And the scale is just a flat scale. It will increase the size of everything in the same aspect ratio. So play around with that, get it to how you want, and then obviously you can change the background texture. Right now I have none, but you can add like a background texture, and you can change the colours of it and everything. I just like it with absolutely no background at all. I think it looks a little bit more clean. And the border texture is Blizzard Tooltip, and the only reason I've chosen Blizzard Tooltip is because that is what I've got currently set up for KgPanels as well. It's just so it looks, it like all looks very, very similar. Border colour, you can do exactly the same thing, set up to red, just like I have on KgPanels. And that's more or less grid. If I've left something out, then please let us know, and perhaps we can help you in the comments. Okay, so the next add-on we're going to be looking at is KgPanels, and you can open KgPanels by doing /KgPanelsConfig. That'll open up this menu, and if you just install the add-on and you haven't installed like the UI package that's in the description, this will all be empty. You won't really see anything in there. You'll probably just see layouts, none. If you install the package, you'll see the Paladin one, which is the current one, and you'll see the Shaman one, and if you click on the Shaman one and hit activate, that's the Shaman one that I used quite a while back. And you can literally switch between layouts literally by clicking them and then hitting activate. So to make a new layout, you want to go onto the layouts tab. You need to make a name for the layouts. Let's just call this test 1. You can also import layouts. I don't know how that works. I'll be completely honest with you. I have no idea how this works, but I'd imagine it's not that difficult to arrange. So you hit OK, create, and there we go. This is now the active one, test 1. And as you can see, there's nothing on the screen. Now you actually need to make panels to go on the layout. So you go into active panels and you create a new one, and you can name them whatever you like. I always name them to like, so I know which one's which, like where it is on the screen. So let's just do one for the chat panel. So that one's just call it chat 1. Create. And there we go, you can then see it there. Now, you can resize it using the thing in the corner, but you can also resize it by setting the width and the height here. So if you want something to be exactly 400 by 200, then you can there. And then you can also position it using the X and Y offsets. To move it, you can also use the nudging system, which is really, really useful. Like, if I am going to try and put this... Just going to resize it quick. If I am going to try and put this, say, like there... like, as you can see, the gap on the left is probably a little bit smaller than the gap on the bottom, so I can just nudge that down a bit. So it sort of fits. Just move up a little bit. So there we go, that's that one done already. Like that's how easy this is. In terms of positioning and stuff like that. You can also set the levels. This is pretty much just for like layering. Like if you think of a cake and you think as the bun of the cake, the bottom part of the cake, the sponge of the cake is the first layer, the icing in the middle is the second layer, and the third layer is the bun or the sponge on top. That's how the layering system works. So if I do like one panel and I put that as level 0, I do another panel and do that as level 1, and I then put that panel on top of the old panel, the panel that's on level 1, you'll see it will go on top of the panel that's on 0. It'd be the same if I made another panel on level 2 and I put that over 1 and that 1 was over the top of 0. It'll basically go on top of it. If anyone's ever seen the layer system in such programs like Photoshop, you'd understand how that works. It's very, very simple. That's how the layering system works. I probably explained that really badly, but there we go. I'm sure you understand. Pretty simple. Now, in terms of actually making the panels look different, you can change how opaque it is. So you can make it so it's completely invisible inside. You can also change the how opaque the borders are, but we won't go into that just yet. And essentially here, this is where you can change like the main things. So you can add a gradient to the background, and you can choose the gradient colors, which is quite nice. So you could have like a red and a blue. Looks absolutely shocking, but you could do that if you want. You can change where you want the gradient to be. You might want it horizontal or vertical. You can make it so there's a solid color. You can make it so there's no color at all. You know, you can do pretty much whatever you want in regards to this. What you can also do is add different filters within the colors, so that the colors merge with what's going on behind it. If people use programs such as Photoshop, they'll understand this as well. So you can add a mod, which basically means whatever's behind it will also sort of get this freaky effect, as you can sort of see. I think it looks pretty cool personally, actually. I might try and do something with that. But there's very different things you can do, like a blend. There's an alpha key option. There's an add, so you can add colors to it. It's pretty cool. You can do all sorts of shit. And then obviously this bit is the border color. And on the Paladin's UI, it's all set to red. But obviously that's up to you. You can do whatever you want. You can do pink if you wanted, or green, or you know, whatever color you like. So that's one of the panels made, more or less. You can add textures to them, but they will overwrite your colors half the time, and you can't really see them. I think that's because I've set the thing wrong. Hold on, let's try that. Yeah, you can see it very, very faintly. That's because I probably got that effect on it. But as you can see, you can like move it around and stuff like that. This is all stuff that you just need to play around with yourself, really, and you can work out exactly what you want with it. And there's also advanced texture options where you can just play around with it even more. I don't mess around with the texture options personally. I just leave them off. I don't really like the texture options. There's also the ability to add text. So I don't know what you'd want to do with that. You might be able to do something with it, and you can change all the font of it and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, like maybe you live stream or something. You might want to make a box with like your name in it or something. I have no idea. You can do lots of shit with KgPanels in terms of text, but yeah, I'm gonna leave that off for now. And again, there's the scripting options, but the scripting options, they're pretty advanced, You can do various different things, so like when you put your mouse over them, they can change, or when you take your mouse off, they can change. I've never played around with these options personally, and I don't really recommend you do unless you know Lua and sort of macros quite well, because it all runs off that sort of code anyway. But yeah, I've never played around that personally. I don't like using that shit. I've never found a need to really use it. Once you have like finished off your panel, let's just say I'm happy with that, you want to lock it. And then that way when you put your mouse over it, you can't move it. That's completely solid now, can't move that at all. And that's more or less it. And then if you're going to make another panel, then you literally just go on active panels and you can do, I don't know, chat too. Let's just say we want a bar above the previous chat window. One thing you can do actually, which is very, very useful, if you go onto the new panel and you hit copy, all from chat 1. So I'm now copying everything about this, the width, the height, the shape, absolutely everything from this this KG panel, and then you hit paste. It will then create an identical panel in the exact same place, and then you can do whatever you want with that. I mean, if you want to have like your UI symmetrical, you might want to then move this over there. So you know, if that's what you want to do, if you want to have recount and all that sort of shit over there, and I now can't really move it. There we go. So that's something you can want to do, but literally all I've done is I've made a panel there, I've made a panel in the middle, I've made a panel on the right, I've made a panel just above that's exactly the same width, it's just like squashed down, and I've made a panel for the cast bar as well. And they're all exactly the same, they just have different width and height properties. And that's more or less it. KgPanels, super easy. Okay, the next add-on we're going to go over is Lagbar, and this is this little thing down here. When you first install it, if you haven't got it within this package, you will have it dead center in the middle of the screen like that. If you do /Lagbar, you'll see various different options, and it's quite likely that the background's on it like that, and it will also probably show world ping like that. Literally all I've done with this is to turn the world ping off, turn the background off, moved it with left click, put it in there, and right clicked it to lock it. That's all I've done with it. Relatively simple. I mean, you can literally get all the information that's here by hovering over this, the actual game menu, like the little picture of the computer. But I like all the information just to be like there visible, so I can look down at it rather than having to scroll over. That's all the Lagbar is. Very, very small, simple add-on. Yeah, just looks good. Okay, so the next add-on we're looking at is MovableHolyPower. To get into MovableHolyPower, you need to go into your interface options and then go on your add-ons tab. And MovableHolyPower is here. Now, all MovableHolyPower does is move your HolyPower thing, which is that there, from underneath your character portrait to wherever you want on the screen. I've decided to put it directly in the middle underneath my character. And these are the only options for it. It's a very, very small add-on. And you can just change the alpha, you can make it bigger or smaller, you can change where it is, you can make it so it's hidden when you have no stacks, various different things you can do with it, but it's a very simple add-on. And there are lots of other add-ons that you can get out there to change how your HolyPower looks. I mean, you can use things such as Power Auras and stuff like that to display your HolyPower, but I just prefer to use the standard Blizzard one, and all I've done is just moved it down there. You might even be able to move it with Move Anything. It's quite like you can, but I've chosen this, and it seems to do the job. Right, so the next thing we're going to look at, we're going to have a look at Postal. And Postal is just a very, very simple mail add-on. There's various different mail add-ons you can get. I find Postal the best, mainly because you have this open all option. So if you have like pages and pages of sold auctions, you can go AFK and just hit the open all, and that will just open up all the mails you've got. Another feature of Postal is that you can send mails to like people in your guild a lot easier and stuff like that, because it will populate the name easier. I think this might also be integrated within Blizzard now. I'm not sure if this like recently mailed alts and guild system might even be in game now. This might not even be Postal. So I've been using Postal for literally years and years and years, so I can't actually say for sure it does, but it gives you the open all option, which is the best thing about it, which is super, super useful. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is Prat, which is the chat add-on. And essentially what Prat does, what the Blizzard chat bar doesn't do, is it adds class colors. Well, you have the option to add class colors to people's names, so you can see what class they are without having to shift click on them. It also displays their level. Also, you can get timestamps. I think they added timestamps fairly recently in the Blizzard chat. I mean, it's kind of similar situation with me with Postal. I've had Prat for so long that I can't even remember what Blizzard's integrated into the chat now. But yeah, you have those two options, which is really, really nice. And the main thing about Prat is that you can copy and paste links. So if I put a link in Guild, you can then click on it and copy it. So I'll then copy that. I can now go paste that into a browser and go look on that, which is really, really nice. Another option that's within Prat is that you also have the ability to copy the chat itself. So I can copy what that guy said, and I can paste that into Guild. No problem, super, super easy. But apart from that, there's not much else to it. I mean, if you do /Prat, you can go into the options, and I've removed the arrows. That's the arrows on the side there, because you don't really need them. The same with the social menu. That's bound to O by default, so you can just open that up and look at that. So yeah, there's not much to it really. It's a very simple add-on. There's quite a lot of complex stuff you can do in terms of module control. You can add like alt names and stuff like that, but it requires quite a lot of work. I have never messed around with this personally. It's not something that I'm really interested in doing. I've literally only got it there just so I can see various information about people without actually having to shift click their name, and the ability to send and copy links is pretty useful. So that's Prat. Right, the next thing we're going to be looking at is Quartz, which is the cast bar, and as you can see it looks like that at the moment. And yeah, the great thing about Quartz, which you don't really get on like the Blizzard cast bar, is that obviously you can see the exact time, and it's highly customizable. You can change the color, you can change the text, you can move that about, you can make it so it shows the spell icon, it shows the GCD. If you see the little black line that comes past, that's your GCD, which is super, super useful in certain situations. So to open it up, you want to do /Quartz, and you'll get this menu, and as you can see there's a lot of information in there. Now under your player, that is your cast bar yourself, that's your one. You can have like the Blizzard one there as well, and as you can see the difference is pretty hench. There's a very fucking big difference. The Blizzard one's ugly as shit. So you can change the height, you can change pretty much all properties, you can move it around. Hiding the icon, you can make it so you can actually see it. I always have it hidden. You don't need to, I don't think you need to see it. You can change the font. I put on Doris PP just to keep in continuity. You can change the texture. Should be on armor anyway. Now it is. But one of the great things about Quartz, I don't really use this too much. I use it for my focus actually, but that you can add up. You can use the cast bar for your target, your focus. You can also use it for your pet, which is quite useful. You can also get it to show buffs, like on your target. So if I target myself, it will show my buff. I personally don't really like this buff system. I have this disabled, but you can configure this quite a lot as well. But like I say, I don't really like the displaying of these buffs and stuff, so I'm going to turn that off for now. I have the target cast bar off at the moment, but that's just positioned there. I mean, if I wanted to move that, I'll just move it out over to the side. It's just now over there. So you can make it so you can actually see your target's cast bar, but I have the standard Blizzard one anyway. And the focus one I do actually have enabled, so if I set myself up as a focus, that's when my focus cast bar is up there. It's just up there for now. So if I disable that, enable it, that's where my focus cast bar is. So that's one of the really good things about it, is that you can just literally adjust all the cast bars That's the great thing about it. But I literally only just use it for my own cast bar. I don't use it for anything else right now. Occasionally I use it for the focus cast bar, but generally I don't. I only use it for focus cast bar if I need to do interrupts, and I use interrupt macros or whatever. It just makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, that's all there is to Quartz. I mean, that's something that really you need to play around with yourself in terms of making it look different than that. But yeah, pretty simple, and it's a very, very useful add-on. Next up is Sexymap, and you can configure Sexymap by doing /Sexymap, and you will get these options here. Now, the best thing to do really with Sexymap is just use the default preset, and then adjust the default preset from there. What I've done for my Sexymap is that I've gone onto Simple Square, which is that, and I've then gone in through these options and changed it and made it look how I want it to look. So you can change the color of the borders by going into here and going into border texture, and you can change the border color. I've just made it red to go with the rest of my UI, and I've hit OK. And the texture you can also change. I've put it as tooltip. I think that looks the best. I think that's also set up as a default with a simple square anyway. As for the buttons, you can make it so like you show calendar always or on hover or never, so it's never there. You can make it so it's always there. And you can adjust that for all your minimap buttons. I've pretty much got all of them on hover apart from the clock, but I think actually I don't know if you can change that. Yeah, the clock, sorry, is a different tab. And in that you can change the text, so I want mine to be $PP. You can change the font color. I'm going to keep it as white. You can make it so there's coordinates. I've got the coordinates on. I think that's kind of useful. The HUD map is basically, it makes the map in the middle of your screen. I absolutely hate it. I don't see why you'd want to use it. I mean, maybe you could use it while you're questing. As you can see, it sort of moves around with you. And it also makes you lag a bit. I mean, my frame rate while I've just done that has dropped from 60 to 30. So I wouldn't really recommend you use that. Movers, I have no idea what movers are, so I'm not even going to go into them. The ping, you can make it so it shows who pings. So if I ping, it will say my name, very, very smallly, Nimtaz. You can also make it so it shows inside chat. So if I ping Nimtaz. So if you're in a group with some bastard who keeps pinging, you can see who's doing it, which is kind of useful. And obviously you can turn that off if you want. Zone text, which is obviously at the top, you can move that around, you can hide it, you can do whatever you want with it. I'm going to keep it on, I actually quite like it. I'm going to make it a white text. Actually no, I'm going to make it red. I'll make it red. So there's quite a lot of things you can do with Sexymap, but like I say, I would recommend that you use the presets and you play around with the presets from there, because there is a lot of them. There's a lot of them indeed. I mean, some of them look quite good as well. Some of the user submitted ones look pretty damn good. Like there's a Shaman one that looks pretty cool. I mean, that looks pretty awesome if you ask me. I don't know if you're going for some sort of crazy greeny, blue, pinky Shaman UI. I mean, that would look pretty epic. But yeah, Sexymap, very, very good add-on, and useful. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be looking at is Skada, and you can look at Skada by doing /Skada config. And the reason why I'm using Skada over Recount these days is simply because you have the option to add multiple windows. Obviously with Recount you can add like the RAID HPS and DPS and all those graphs and everything, which are kind of useful. But having the option to have multiple windows open rather than just the one window, then having to click and change it, just having the set thing there on the screen without having to go through all those different options, I find a lot better, and I think it looks better as well. So when you first install Skada, if you didn't download the package, you won't see any of these. You'll literally just, it'll be empty, it'll be like that. You need to go into Windows and create a window. We're going to call this one that, just why not? And you'll get this here pop up like that. I'm just going to move that out of the way. Within the Windows tab itself, once you've made one, this is where you just change how it looks and everything like that. So you can change the bar font, you can change the font size, you can change the bar texture, you know, there's loads of different things. You can do the bar spacings, you can make this so there's more of a gap between them, you can make the bars themselves bigger. This is all shit that you should play around with yourself. I mean, you can use class colours, you can turn all that shit off. For mine, I've literally just got all the class colours on, I've turned class icons off, and the title bar is enabled for me, and I've just made that Doris PP just to go with the rest of the UI. And I've just smartened it up and made it so the windows, the 3 windows I've got, fit in there like that. So that's pretty much it. I mean, this is all shit that you really need to play around with yourself. Like the appearance of it, at least. Once you're happy with how it looks, you're going to have to actually pick something for it to show. Even though this is named DPS healing and threat, they don't actually show DPS healing on threat. They have to just show whatever I tell them to show. I mean, you do that by clicking this, like the little page symbol, mode, and then you pick whatever you want. So I've gone through each window individually and said that one to show threat, that one to show damage, and that one to show healing. So with this new one, I could get it to show deaths. Why not? Actually, let's get something that's actually in there. Enemy damage done. That'll do. Why the fuck not? There's options in here in data reset. So like recount, for example, will ask you, like, do you want to reset the data? You can set that up with this as well. It's just a little bit more in depth, so you can say when we reset on entering an instance, you can make it so it's automatic, or you can make it ask or say no. I mean, I'd recommend you just put them all on ask, to be honest. The general options, it's just like minimap and pets and all that sort of shit. The columns is sort of quite good, actually. Like, it's quite good that you can change this per thing. So like on your damage only, you might only want to be able to see the actual damage. You might also want to see the percentage of damage. I mean, you might also want to see the DPS percentage damage and damage. I personally don't. I literally just have the damage and DPS. I'm not too interested about the percent. I've pretty much got the same setup for every single one. But in here you have the option to change every single one. So on enemy damage done, we find that. Where is enemy damage done? If we can find it, should be in here. Okay, it's not in here. You can't edit that, but you can edit other things like threat. I mean, or healing, for example. You could make it so you only show HPS, or you could make it so you only show the percent. It's up to you. Whereas obviously if you change it in recount, it'll change it for every single tab, which is kind of frustrating. The tooltips you don't need to worry about too much. And the CC, it just announces CC breaking to party. I've got that turned off. And the threat I haven't played with. You can make it so if you're like about to lose threat or about to gain threat, your screen shakes. I don't think that's really a problem these days. You're not really going to lose threat these days, so I wouldn't recommend turning that on. But that's Skada. I mean, I know I haven't really gone into depth with Skada. I mean, there's a lot more you can do with Skada, but my sort of knowledge of Skada isn't brilliant anyway. I literally just use it for the 3 bars so I can actually see what the fuck's going on with the threat, damage and healing. Simple as that. Oh, and to report, you just hit the little trumpet looking thing. Click on that and then you just choose where you want to. So in guild, let's say, yeah, let's do it in guild. And you can decide how many lines you want to show. So let's just say the first 3 report, and there we go. It'll just post it in guild. And it'll post it as you have it displayed. So if you showed the percentage and all that, it'll also display that. And that's more or less it. Skada. Right, next up is Power Auras. And really, Power Auras isn't necessarily needed these days. You can use Weak Auras instead. Power Auras Classic was discontinued just before Miss. However, a couple of people picked up the project and continued to use it. And work on it and make it so it actually works with the game. And that is the version that I am using. I am also using Weak Auras, but my knowledge of Weak Auras is pretty bad. But Weak Auras is far more complex, and you can do far more things with Weak Auras. So if you're new to both Power Auras and Weak Auras, I recommend that you just go straight in with Weak Auras. It does seem like the better add-on. But if you know everything about Power Auras, then I'd recommend you stick to Power Auras. I'm going to talk about Power Auras because, like I say, I don't really know much about Weak Auras. But I'm sure what you can learn about Power Auras, you could probably use it in Weak Auras as well. So this is Power Auras. You can open it up by doing /Power Auras. And what Power Auras does is create icons such as... Hold on, need to turn that off. Such as that. that appeared on the side. This one on the left is actually a weak aura. That was made by a guildie of mine. But as you can see here, these are power auras. So you can get them to display whatever you want. You can get them to display buffs. You can get them to display incoming boss effects. You can get them to display pretty much anything in the game that has some sort of code behind it. It's rather good. There's a lot of things you can do with it. You can get it to display cooldowns and everything like that. What I've got it to display is the uptime, the duration left on Shield of Righteousness. I've got it to display the duration of Sacred Shield. I've also got it to display the duration on whatever it's called. What's it called? Guarding the Ancient Kings, Argent Defender. I don't think I have one for Devotion Aura. No, I don't have one for Devotion Aura, but I have one for Divine Protection as well. So it displays the duration of them, which is I find useful as a tank, just to see my cooldowns. It allows me to chain them a bit better. I mean, the duration of them is displayed up in the buff bar at the top, but I find it easier when it's nice and big on the right hand side of my screen. I find it a lot easier. So in terms of actually making a power aura, do /power and you'll get this box here open up. You want to go into character effects, ideally page 1. You'll only ever go into the other pages if you end up making like a shit ton of them. You want to hit new and you'll have this thing here. And you'll see, this is like the standard one that comes with a new power aura. When you are making a power aura, the first thing you need to do is work out exactly what you want the aura to do. So, for example, you might want it to display... let's say you want it to show when Speed of Light is off cooldown. So, you choose activation by... And as you can see in here, this is where all the things are. There's quite a remarkable amount of things in here. But we want the cooldown, so we need to find spell cooldown. Spell cooldown, we want to add Speed of Light. You can also put the ID of the spell in, and you can work out the ID of the spell by going on websites like WoW Database or Wowhead. The name of the ID will actually be on the page somewhere of that spell. You want to take that exact case and just copy that in there as well. You then have the options of when you want it to show. So if you're mounted, it will never show. If you're in a vehicle, it will never show. I'm just going to leave them open. I'm happy for it to show all the time. You can make it so it only shows when you're alive. I suppose that's kind of fine. I mean, you're not really going to be using Speed of Light when you're dead. And that's it more or less set up now. So that will start working now, immediately. So if I use Speed of Light, it goes away. So all that does right now is show that Speed of Light is off cooldown, you should fucking use it. And as soon as I use it, that's it, it goes away. And in 35 seconds time, that's when it will come back. You can also invert the logic on that by hitting the invert, which means it will show up when it's not on cooldown. So this will stay when it's not on when it is on cooldown. When it comes off cooldown, which is in 15 seconds, this will then all disappear. This animation will disappear and show you can use it. I wouldn't use that logic for this spell, but I mean, it's something you should keep in mind. As you can see, in 3, 2, 1, boom, goes away. So that now I know that Speed of Light is off cooldown. But I don't like that logic, so I'm going to keep it like that. So it shows when it is off cooldown. Now, as for actually changing how this looks, there's various different textures you can choose. In fact, there's hundreds of them. Absolutely hundreds. However, you might want to actually use the actual texture, the actual icon for the spell. And you do that by hitting Use Own Texture, that there. You click on that, and then you can see that's the actual icon. And you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can make it absolutely huge, you can move it around, put it wherever the fuck you want. You can make it more opaque. Like I say, you can do absolutely everything with it, more or less. You can make it so it's animated. So you can make it when it's just come off cooldown. You can make it so it can zoom in, and when you use it, you can make it so it fades out. You can make it so it spins. Why the fuck not? And then while it's active and while it's there, you can actually make it like pulse. It's like screaming, use me right now, that sort of shit. You can also make it so it has like secondary animations. You can speed up the animation. You can make the animation duration like, so it animates for a certain period of time. If you put it on 0 seconds, then it'll just animate forever until you use the spell. You can add a sound effect to it. So when it comes off cooldown, I mean, look, there's loads. And you can also add sounds. You can actually add your own sound effect files. But I think it needs to be in a certain format, I believe. It needs to be in an MP3 or WAV sound file. Or I think an OGG, which is the Blizzard sound file. I have no idea what an OGG is. I'm sorry. So you can have a sound that when it comes up, you can have a sound when it goes away. And as you can see on the ones that I have, such as for Guardian the Ancient Kings, you can't actually see it. Hold on. There it is. It actually has a timer. You can add a timer by going into the timer option. So if you hit show, the timer won't work for this because, you know, it's sort of already there. It's already off cooldown. But you can position the timer if you want. You can make it bigger or smaller. And all I've done with the I'm going to delete this. It's doing my fucking adding. All I've done with these ones is just put the timers underneath them. What did I do there? That should be there. So if you right click them, you can see all of them. Yeah, I've literally just placed the timer underneath them. And yeah, that's more or less Power WeakAuras. I mean, it's something that you need to play around with a lot with yourself. But if you are new to Power WeakAuras, I'd recommend that you jump straight into WeakAuras and learn that instead. But it's very similar. It works almost the exact same way. Okay, and the last add-on we are looking at is DBM, Deadly Boss Mods. And I'm pretty sure all of you know what DBM is. I'll be very surprised if you don't know what DBM is. Mainly, I'm going to talk about like the configuration settings of Deadly Boss Mods. Mainly the bars. So you can go in the option menu of DBM, and the main thing that you want to change is just the bar style. If you hit Move Me, you'll be able to see exactly where the bars are. The bar on the left is the like long cooldown. So like if a spell's on like 5 minutes, like there's an enraged timer perhaps in 5 minutes time, it'll then move over towards the right hand side. That's how I've set it up at least. And I've just moved it so the long bar is on the left and the short bar is on the right. What you can do with these bars is that you can change the textures. You can change the font size. You can change the actual font itself. And you can make them longer or shorter or whatever you really want to do with them. I put them both more or less at the exact same size. I like it so they're the exact same size. The longer bar is actually shorter than the short timer bar. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've done with them. I mean, there's various different settings in DBM where you can change like special warnings and that, but they're not really used these days compared to how they used to be. I mean, the special warning is the big warning in the middle of the screen that says like move now, like when a special ability is coming in or anything like that. I haven't played around with that. I've left out as I mean, DBM itself is pretty much already sorted when you install it. But the bars, I really recommend that you move the bars, especially into an area of your UI where it's clear. That's pretty much why I have these two gaps. On some bosses you will have, like, I don't know, say 8 or 9 timers for all the different mechanics. And it can end up covering quite a lot of your screen, and especially if it starts covering your UI, it can start looking cluttered. But as you can see with these bars, even if there was 9 or 10 things populated within these bars, it won't cover that much. A little tip what you can do with DBM is broadcast certain timers. If you do DBM broadcast timer, then whatever you want in the timer, and then the name, so balls. You now have a timer for 10 minutes of balls. As you can see, you can make loads of them. And the thing is with that is that you can actually incorporate that within a macro. So say you was going to make a macro for when you used Guardian the Ancient Kings. You can make it so it then makes a timer for Guardian the Ancient Kings. Skada and the Ancient Kings last, what is it, 12 seconds? Yeah, 12 seconds. So you can make it so it's a 12-second timer. Loz's cooldown up. Wow. So there we go. There's a 10-second timer, 12-second timer. Sorry for the cooldown on my shield. You can actually put that in like a macro if you wanted to. I don't use it personally, not really necessary, but there we go. That's something you can do. And then obviously there is also the pull timer, which people aren't really aware of. If you do DBM pull, and then the amount of seconds that you want, it'll actually do a pull timer. You can't actually see it here because I'm not in a raid, but that's how it works. And that's really all there is to it in DBM. I mean, if you actually go in the DBM options, you can modify what you actually want to see on the bosses. So you might go in Throne of Thunder, just let it load up, and you might be on a bit like, I don't know, let's say you're on Horadon, and you don't want to see the announce for cracked shell stacks. You might want to you can just turn that off. I mean, that's all stuff that you need to play around with yourself, but the broadcasting, the messages, and the DBM timers for the pulls are really, really useful. And that's more or less all there is to DBM. So that's my UI video done. I hope this video helped out. Sorry that it's so fucking long. It's like over an hour long. I think it's probably the longest video that's ever been on our channel. But yeah, I hope it helped you guys out. If you could drop a like, that helps us out a lot. And we will see you for our next video. Thanks for watching.